Good morning. Today we are continuing working with probability. We did this last time in CO73. Today with CO74, we are adding on to it. So today we are calculating the probability of compound events. So we're going to find out what that means to be a compound event. The definition is two or more events occurring. So we've talked about the probability it is that something is going to happen. Now we're talking about multiple events happening in a row. What is the probability of flipping heads and then rolling a number 6 on your dice? So we're going to have multiple events that we're going to do. So to find the probability of a compound event, you want to find the probability of each event and then multiply them together. So we're going to find that fraction, that probability set up as a fraction. We're going to multiply all the fractions together of what the events are, the probability of each event. So this first page we are going to work on together. Please touch the door so it doesn't make a loud noise. I am recording. So we're going to look at, if I have a bag of 20 marbles that contain 5 blue, 8 red, and 7 white. Who remembers how we find the probability of one event? What should I write down for my fraction? James?
You do the outcome.
So it's the desired outcome. So what you want to happen.
And then you have how many events there are?
Over the, I forget, was
it?
Yep, I'm gonna look up that exact wording. Possible.
Yeah.
So how many possible outcomes? So your desired outcome over your possible outcomes. So if we're looking at our bag of marbles, how many possible outcomes are there in that one bag? Matthew? 20. So there's 20 possible outcomes because there are 20 marbles. So on the bottom of our fraction, we're going to put 20 because there's 20 possible outcomes, 20 marbles we're choosing from. So you always look at how many altogether possible outcomes are there. That's your bottom number. Now we want the desired outcomes on top. So if I want to choose a blue marble, how many desired outcomes are there, Melina? 5, because there are 5 blue. Now I'm going to replace it and choose again. So before I put that, how many possible outcomes for my second event? Melina? 20 possible, because I replaced that blue marble, and then there are 8 red, and I want to choose a red. So this is my first event, choosing a blue out of the 20. My second event is choosing a red out of the 20 marbles. To find out what the probability of doing the blue and then choosing the red, we multiply them. So remember, when we multiply fractions, we multiply across. So 5 times 8 is 40. 20 times 20 is 400. So now I want to put that as a probability, as a percentage. So if I do 40 with my fraction bar, meaning division, 40 divided by 400. what fraction do I get, JT? I could simplify it to 4/40, but I wanted 1/10.
What do you
Okay.
have to do that?
So 40 divided by 400. So we need calculators for this unit. When we're working with probabilities, you need your calculator. I need to turn that decimal into a percentage. So what would my percent be, Aiden? 10%. So there's a 10% probability that I could choose a blue, replace it, and then choose a red. So is that likely to happen or not likely?
Not likely. You have to write that down?
No. We're just refreshing our memory from what we did last week. So let's do another one. Choosing a red marble, not replacing it, then choosing a white marble. So what is my first fraction I'm going to write? Bennett. So there are 8 reds, 20 marbles altogether. Now I'm gonna not replace it and choose a white marble. What's the probability of that? Aiden B. So there are 7 white marbles. How many marbles are in my bag this time? I don't replace it. So how many marbles are left in the bag? I start with 20. I take 1 out. So I have 19 left in my bag. So you have to pay attention if you are replacing or not replacing. If you're not replacing it, your bottom outcomes go down by 1 because you don't have that marble left in the bag. What operation do I need to do with my 2 fractions, Riziki? Multiply. So what is the fraction that I get, Amelia? 56 over 380. So what do I get for that? Matthew? Aiden?
That's 0.147.
So if it's 0.147, we need to turn it into a percent. So we need to round to the 100th. If it's 0.15%, because if it's followed by a 7, we have to round up. So 0.15 becomes 15%. So that percentage is your probability. That is your final answer. Okay? I'm going to erase and scroll up. Are we ready for me to erase? Okay, there's a couple people still filling that in. So look down at that next one before I erase and pull up. If you're ready, try to work out the next one on your own. See if you can come up with the fractions and then multiply across. Do you have a question, Nora? So here, my total possible outcomes are 20 marbles, right? Then I'm looking at the red. There are 8 red. Here, I didn't replace that marble I took out, so now there's only 19 left in the bag. And now I'm looking at the white. I want to pull a white, and there's 7 whites. That makes sense? So I only went out, my possible outcomes went down by 1 because I didn't put that marble back in the bag. So now we're left with 19 marbles in the bag.
Why is it only 19?
Because there were 20 to start.
And you took one.
And I chose a marble out and I didn't put it back in the bag. When it says not replacing it, you're not putting the marble back in the bag. So if you have 20 marbles in the bag and you pick one, there's only 19 left in the bag now.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay, let me scroll up. You'll be looking at your next one. So now we're choosing a blue marble, replacing it, and then choosing a white marble. So I have 2 events happening. What fraction do I write for the blue marble, Enzo?
5/20.
Yeah, there are 5 blues and there are 20 marbles altogether.
And then 7.
So what is our second fraction? Replacing your blue marble, so we're staying at 20 marbles in our bag. Now we want to choose a white one, Enzo.
7/20.
Yeah, so now we have 7 white over the 20 marbles. I'm going to multiply. So I know 5 times 7 is 35. 20 times 20 is 400.
I don't have the
So what do I get for my decimal, Jillian? What was the whole decimal that you got when you did 35 divided by 400? So if you get 0.0875, we want to round to the hundredths, so we're gonna look at that thousandths. What does that 7 tell us we have to do, Jillian? Shh, Jillian, round up. So you have to look at that thousandths place and know that that's 0.09. That 7 tells us that 8 has to round up. So our answer is 9%. We have been talking about the rounding and refreshing our memories on how we round. So on the test, if you do not round correctly, it will be wrong. So really stop and think with these decimals. If we're rounding to the hundredth, look at that thousandths place. It's super easy to just go too quick and make that simple mistake. There is a difference between 8% and 9%. If the answer is 9%, you have to make sure you round correctly. Lucia.
When you're not a person, with the other denominator, you subtract 1.
So when we had 20 marbles, we took a marble out, we did not replace it. Now all that's left in the bag is 19. That's only for the not replacing. All right, choosing 2 marbles and not replacing either, then choosing a red marble.
Wait,
So,
wouldn't it be 18?
so let's think about this one. Think about what you're doing. You're going to choose 2 blue marbles.
Can I put it on the board?
Go ahead.
Julian, you got a top. Okay, no problem.
Sure. And we're gonna see what other people got. So, how did you guys do this? Did you do it the same way or did anybody do it differently? James, how did you do it? You're shaking your head.
No, I'm saying I did this.
So what's the difference between choosing 1 blue marble versus choosing 2 blue marbles? So when I did mine differently. Aiden, did you do yours differently or did you do it the same way? How did you do yours?
I take that back. Wouldn't it be,
Why is it
wouldn't it be
18?
5/20, right?
Because you're choosing two.
Because if you're choosing 2 and 5, you have 5 and blue in total, that would be 2 plus.
So there are 5 blue marbles. It says you choose 2 blue marbles. When I read it as 2 events. I'm choosing a blue and then I'm choosing a blue. So the way I read it was as 2 events. So I did the 5/20. That's 1 blue marble. Then I need to choose a second blue marble. I didn't replace my first blue marble. So now there's 4 blue marbles in my bag. And there are 19 marbles in the bag. So we can't say 5 over 20 and call that 2 events. That's only 1 event. Okay? So we chose a blue marble, then we chose a blue marble, then we chose a red marble. So you have to see that there were 2 events happening. So there are actually 3 events altogether. You chose 2 blues in a row, then you chose a red. So he wasn't very explicit with his language, saying that it was choose a blue, choose a blue, choose a red. Okay, but each event, one thing is happening. You're choosing a blue, then you're choosing a blue, then you choose your red. So you were right that with that red, it goes down to 18. But choosing the 2 blues means it's 2 events. So that's going to change this over here. So 5 times 4 times 8 gets us 160. 20 times 19 times 18 is 6,840.
Wait, why would you do 4? Why'd you add 4 over here?
Because we have 2 events happening. We chose 1 blue, and then we chose another blue. That's 2 events.
Oh.
Each time you reach in to take a marble is an event. So you chose a blue, then you chose a blue, then you chose your red. Okay, so that's 2 separate events. So I had to list them separately to multiply them. Who's done the math? What's 160 divided by 6,840? Nora. 0.02, which gives me the 2%. So do we understand why we needed to break that 2 up into 2 events? Okay. So which is more likely, choosing 4 red, not replacing, use the word either, that means it's only 2, but we're choosing 4, so not replacing any of them, or choosing 1 of each, not replacing any of them. So not the word either, that was the wrong word choice. Either means it's either or, there's only 2. So we have more than 2, so we use any. So which is more likely, choosing 4 red, not replacing any of them, or choosing 1 of each color, not replacing any of them? How should I answer this question? Any guess? There are 2 parts to this question. So I have to come up with 2 probabilities. What's the probability of choosing 4 red, not replacing them? And what's the probability of choosing 1 of each color? So first, I'm going to do choosing my 4 red. So that's how many events? 4. I'm choosing 4 red marbles, so that's 4 events. So what's my first event going to be, Gigi? Which would be what? There are 8 red marbles in my bag of 20 marbles. So now I have my next event. I am not replacing that red marble. So what is the probability of me doing? Say that again. There are 7 reds left out of 19 marbles. And then now there's only 6 red marbles left, and there are only 18 marbles in the bag. And I need to do it 4 times. So now there are 5 red marbles left, and there are only 17 marbles left in my bag. Yeah, because we started with 8 red marbles. So every time I take a red marble out and I do not replace it, my number of red marbles goes down.
So wouldn't it just be like, wait, what would you, so you start off with 8 red marbles and then you go down?
Yes, and I started off with 20 marbles in my bag, and every time I take a marble out, I'm not replacing it, so my possible outcomes is going down by 1, because I'm taking a marble out each time. So both the top and the bottom go down by 1 each time.
So would it be like 4, 16?
We only do it 4 times. So we're only choosing 4 red marbles, so we stop there. So now we're gonna multiply across 8 times 7 times 6 times 5, 1,680. And then we have 20 times 19 times 18 times 17, 116,280. And I get 0.01, which is 1%. So there's a 1% probability of choosing 4 reds.
Wait, would you multiply to get 116,000?
8 times 7 times 6 times 5.
That equals
You multiply across the top and you get 1,680.
And
Then I multiply my bottom across and I get 116,280. So you're always just multiplying your numerators, multiplying your denominators. So now I need to find out what's the probability of choosing each color, not replacing any of them. So what's the probability of choosing a blue? 5 out of 20. What's my probability of choosing a red? 8 out of, say it louder, 19. Why did my 20 go down to a 19, Matthew? Because I'm not replacing the first one I chose. I still have 5 blue, I still have 8 red, but my total number in my bag is going down by 1. So now I need to choose a white. What would that fraction be, Aiden?
7
Out of 18, because I'm not replacing them. So if I multiply 5 times 8 times 7, I get 280. And when I multiply 20 times 19 times 18, I get 6,840. I divide 280 by 6,840, and I get 0.04, which is 4%. So my question was, what is more likely to happen? Choosing 4 red or choosing 1 of each color? What was that, Julie? 1 of each color, because that's 4%. That is more likely to happen. Matthew, you look like a little confused. Did you figure out, or do you have a question? Okay. So now if you choose 2 marbles from our bag, how many events is that? 2. You're not replacing the first one. What is the least likely outcome we can come up with? So what color combination do you think would be the least likely for us to come up with? What do you think, James? So if I choose a blue, that's 5 out of 20. And then I choose a white, 7 white. I didn't replace, so it's 7 out of 19. What do we get for our fraction? Okay, and what decimal is that?
0.09.
Okay, so that's 9%. There is a smaller probability we can come up with. Can anybody think of a smaller one? What are 2 color choices that I could do without we are replacing. Sorry, that's my bad. So that's 7 out of 20. So we had 35 out of 400. What's 35 out of 400? 0.09. Okay, that didn't change that part. Okay, there is a smaller one. What do you think it is, Aiden?
Would you do 5 over 20? Actually, no, would you get 5 over 20? And then 8 over 20?
I'm gonna tell you right now, 8 is a bigger number.
5 over 20.
So we're gonna get a bigger number. Wouldn't we? Because if we had 8 over 20, that would be 40 divided by 400. What percent did you get for that? So we just went bigger. We want to get the least likely. So if we went to a bigger number and our percentage went up, what do we need to do, Nora? A blue, and then choosing a blue, get the smallest numbers we can get. And we have 25 over 400, which gives us 6%. So it didn't say what colors, you had to decide. So you want to get the smallest color choices you could get. So blue was the smallest. So if you pick 2 blues, that is the smallest choice possible. So 2 blues. How are we feeling about this? Okay, we're a little bit, yeah, I'm kind of getting it. So let's look at our second page. And here's what I want you to do on your second page. On the second page, I want you to write desired outcomes over possible outcomes. Remember, each event, we're going to put how many desired outcomes over how many possible outcomes. So this time, instead of marbles in a bag, we have a spinner with 4 sections. So how many possible outcomes are there? 4. There's 1 of each color. So there's 1 green, 1 red, 1 blue, 1 yellow. And then we have a die numbered 1 to 6. So how many possible outcomes are there on the die? 6. There are 6 sides on our die, so there are 6 possible outcomes. Each side has a different number on it. Think about a die when you roll it. You can land on a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. So there's only 1 desired outcome for each of those numbers. There's only 1 desired outcome for each color. So let's look at how that works out. What is the probability of spinning a red?
1.
Out of
4.
1 red out of 4 colors. What is the probability of rolling a 5? James?
6.
1 out of 6, because there's only 1 5 on our dice, but there are 6 numbers. So it's 1 out of 6. And then we multiply. What's 1 times 1? What's 4 times 6? What is my decimal I get when I divide that? 1 divided by 24, GG. Which is 4%. Enzo, I want you to work on not shoving stuff out, please. Thank you. Does that make sense, how we do these? You figure out what events you have. So we have a probability of spinning a blue and then rolling an odd number. So you have to ask yourself, how many blues are there? How many odd numbers are there? Yeah. 1, 3, 5 are odd numbers. I'm going to have you work on the rest of this page on your own. If you need help, come up and see me. If you want to double check that you got your events correct. Am I writing the correct fractions to multiply? Come check with me. Okay. When you are done working on this, you are working on finishing any missing Khan Academies you have any practice work, if you didn't get all of your practice work done last week and all those retakes done, be working on those. For my friends at home, we hope you are well, and we hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.